Good evening. Today, in Mind Your Mind with Stephenraj program, we are going to see the icon history of Steve Jobs. As usual, our good friend, nice speaker, Mr. Mario Fernando, going to deliver the part 8 of this live. People can enjoy and learn about Steve Jobs and his life journey, business journey, and success, everything. So, this is a very good book so that we can learn many things from this book. Already 7 episodes we have gone through. Now, the eighth one, Mario will continue. I'm handing over the session to Mario.
Okay, thank you, Uncle. Good evening, everyone. So far we've what we've covered in this book is we've seen the early life of Steve Jobs, how he started Apple, how Apple the initial success of Apple was good, how he was then was sent out of Apple, then he built his own company called Next, and how he acquired Pixar. So now the next chapter, in this particular chapter, which is chapter 7, we're going to discuss about how um, Pixar became the company and the company that everyone came to know about, and how they created extremely good animated movies in the late 90s. So at this point of time, Alvy Ray Smith and Head Catmull were taking care of Pixar while Jobs was the major investor. So at this, what happened was uh, Steve Jobs had a bitter split with Alvy Ray Smith. What happened was Steve Jobs does not like anyone opposing him in any meetings, or he does not take anyone's comment very his view in a meeting, and he does not allow anyone to write on the board. So there was one particular occasion where Alvy Ray Smith stood up, grabbed the marker, and started writing, and then Steve Jobs yelled at him right away. So Alvy Ray Smith left the meeting and he went away. Later, they had a heated argument, and Alvy Ray Smith was sent out. So Alvy Ray Smith was a co-founder of Pixar, and Steve Jobs just completely ignored him and even removed all of his hard work that he's put in, at Pixar, and all the details about him were erased from Pixar. So that wasn't a good sign as well. Then, at this point of time, the Disney studio chief, Jeffrey Katzenberg, was a fan of John Lasseter's work. John Lasseter was the genius behind all the movies at Pixar. So he contacted Lasseter and offered to fund, promote, and distribute a fully featured animated film. So fully featured animated film, because John Lasseter created wonderful short stories which won an Oscar. As in the last chapter we saw, Tin Toy was a fully animated film that won an Oscar. So Disney was impressed by this, and they offered to give a full-time, full feature animated movie. So this offer saved Pixar, because at this point of time, Pixar was using a lot of money, and Steve Jobs was almost, on the brink of closing both the companies. So Jobs, what as his good negotiation skills, he came up with a deal with Disney, and it was a three-picture deal. They were going to create three pictures together, and Disney would keep all the merchandising revenue. Merchandising revenue in terms of the toys that they create, and the merchandise. It could be toys, cards, different items that come, based on movies. So we see a lot of these, let's say Mickey Mouse or Disney Frozen. All those are merchandises that Disney uses, Disney promotes along with the movies that they create. And merchandising revenue is actually a very huge revenue for Disney and other animation companies. Even for example, uh, even World Wrestling Entertainment (WWE) also promotes their. They also sell merchandises, wear dolls or uh, you know wrestlers dolls. So merchandising revenue is actually a very big part in the overall revenue of companies in the entertainment industry. So meanwhile, Next was progressing on the software front. Jobs decided to build an operating system around a kernel called Mark. It was from Carnegie Mellon University because Next was struggling to a major extent. They were not able to generate enough revenue to support the company to be on to progress every year. So what happened was at this time, Jobs took a very hard decision of closing down the hardware business. Remember the excellent computer that he built called Next Cube. It was designed in a black box as a cube. The there it was a genius design, but the market reality was different. Market wasn't expecting a product that was so costly, and the target audience, for example, he was targeting to universities, and universities were not willing to pay more than $3,000 while the machine was close to $10,000. So that was a huge failure, and eventually he closed down the hardware business. He started focusing on the software business. Canon, as we came to know, invested $100 million on Next at the early stages. They invested another $100 million over a period of time with small investments. And even though they invested another $100 million, it wasn't on a good note because they were not able to generate enough revenue on Next. So what happened was, because Next wasn't doing too well, and Pixar had still not yet generated revenue. Pixar was creating small animated films, but it was not being distributed or it was not being released in theaters where they would be getting box office collection. So the deal with Disney would help them, but there were a lot of negotiations between Disney and Pixar, which still had to be worked out. So at this point of time, when Next and Pixar were not doing too well, Steve Jobs' fortunes were not so good as well, and he was in the mindset of closing down the business. He was constantly removing people, uh, you know, firing people, and constantly closing down small parts of the business which were not running too well. So to add even further trouble, Katzenberg had stopped the production on the uh, fully featured animated film. So the fully featured animated film was Toy Story. If we remember, Toy Story is one of the most successful animated films from the 90s up till now, and it is it is the fourth uh, most successful animated franchise of all time actually. And what happened was Katzenberg stopped the production on Toy Story because he wasn't too happy about a certain part of the script. So what John Lasseter decided to do was he uh, he made some changes to the story, and he presented it later to Katzenberg. So meanwhile, what happened was Katzenberg left Disney, and which descended into a management turmoil under CEO Michael Eisner. So this time, Michael Eisner's second man, there was a his uh, the next person to Michael Eisner had met with an accident, and Michael Eisner could not find a replacement for him. So he was struggling over a period of time where he could not find a replacement, and then he decided to take over as CEO. Michael Eisner is a one of the geniuses behind Disney in the late 90s and early 2000s. So Jobs realized once Katzenberg accepted the part from John Lasseter where they made the changes, Jobs came to realize that Toy Story would be a success. But what happened was he came to know that Disney would make more money from the movie than Pixar would because of the merchandising revenue and the other revenue that Disney would get. So unless the film was $100 million success, Pixar would not make a lot of money. So what happened was um, at this point of time he was even considering on selling Pixar to anybody. But he did not take the decision to sell it. Then, at this point of time, when the story was being developed and Toy Story was coming out to be a fully featured film, Michael Eisner decided that. Uh, so what happened in the meanwhile was John Lasseter always came up with small parts of the story. He presented small parts of the animation to them, and Michael Eisner was very happy about it. So Michael Eisner, what he decided to do was he said that in 1995 it would be Disney's holiday release. Holiday release is generally movies released around Christmas time, and Disney's movies around Christmas time are a huge success because parents take their children out to watch a movie. And 1995 was a huge release of Toy Story. Success seemed assured for Pixar, and Jobs' personal life was also improving. So he got married to a person called Doreen, and he also reconciled with Lisa, who was a teenager by now. Lisa was his daughter uh, from Tristan. So just to let you know about Toy Story, it was the first fully featured animated film entirely created by CGI. CGI is computer graphics interface. There was no filming or creation of any regular animated movies where they draw the pictures over a period of time and then add animation to it. So this was fully created by a computer, and it was a huge success because of this. It made $373 million worldwide in 1995. It was one of the highest gross films of all the time during that period. So that was a huge success from this particular part of the story. So that's the end of this chapter. I've got few points that I thought I should share today. Um, First point, what I realized was that even one of the greatest minds and geniuses as Steve Jobs can make errors and mistakes. But what we should, take away from that is we should ensure that we keep a check on every aspect of our business, our mind. As this program is Mind Your Mind, I think it's very important to see what we allow into our mind. There was a very famous info that I read. We are bombarded with 5,000 advertisements every day when you travel, or TV, your phone, your notifications. There are so many advertisements that you receive every day, and you don't get time to actually reflect on your own self and your own mind. So I would suggest, even if you're able to take 2 minutes off every distraction and meditate, it will greatly help you. So it's very important that we keep a check on every aspect of our business, our mind, our health, and our personal life and goals. The reason is, if Steve Jobs, one of the greatest minds, can make errors and mistakes, I'm sure we'll not be able to. We've got a long way to go. So it's better to keep checking everything. So the second point is hard work always beats talent. That's something I've read over a period of time, and the story of Steve Jobs tells us that he was never born with talent. He had an interest in electronics, and slowly he learned the skills and developed himself. The only way that he was able to beat major companies like IBM and Sun Microsystems, he was able to use Apple to beat those systems with hard work. There's a very famous concept called the compound effect, and what the compound effect says is, if you're able to work hard and do the things you have to do every single day consistently, that beats people with talent who are not consistent. So basically, all of us know what we've got to do every day to improve our life. And if we sit down and start working on it every single day, eventually the compound effect will help us achieve that, or will move that in the direction of achieving our goals or desires. So that's the second point. And the third point is, if you've noticed the story of if you've noticed the life story of Steve Jobs, what you'll come to realize is success is a journey. It's not a destination, it's not a reward, it's not the end goal. Success is a journey. And in order to achieve success, you should not seek to be successful, but you should seek to become a person of value. So when you become a person of value, when you bring value to the marketplace, people will pay to see you. People will pay to see you perform. What do I mean by this? So if you have some ability, if you have some talent, and if you're able to bring some value to the marketplace, let's say you have an idea in terms of a software that will help people's life, or you have an idea for an app that will help people's life in some way or the other. If you're able to bring that value to the marketplace, people will pay to buy your app. This is how, as simple as it gets. So seek to become a person of value, and people will pay to see you perform. Thank you, Uncle. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mario. So nice. You are continuously taking efforts and delivering a wonderful speech, and we are hearing a lot of from you about Steve Jobs. Really impressing as so great job. Keep doing. Learn more. Make us to learn more.
Thank you, Uncle.
Okay. So happy. So everyone, I'm here to thank the people who watched it through live. It is being lived through American pages also. There are seven American pages. It is
Okay,
it
that's
is it is
great.
on this live actually. See in this on this live. See there are 7 American pages joined here. It is not just we two are talking.
Oh,
It is going live through 7
that's
American
great,
pages
Uncle.
and one Canada page.
That's
Okay,
great,
so
actually.
it is not just we are two talking. There are people are watching. So and people will watch also later. So be happy and thank you for your efforts. uh, make
Thank you, Uncle.
continue your efforts so that you will reach in US, Canada. I'm going to connect people from Australia also. I'm planning for that, and from UK.
Yeah,
Okay, so this
great,
will
Uncle. That's
it,
good thing.
it is not just it is getting expanding. It is getting
Good,
expanding
Uncle. I mean,
toward the
a
world.
lot of
Okay,
people, we can
so
learn a lot of from,
we
we
already
can
reached
learn from
different places.
each one.
So thank you very much. I'm just disconnecting my
Thank you,
live.
Uncle.
Now, hold on.